Hello, my name's Jules and welcome to the Wedding Mavericks podcast. First of all, I want to start by saying if you are here and you're listening or you're watching me right now, I really appreciate it. There's so much other stuff that you could be doing out there. I can't believe how many new kind of podcasts and YouTube channels and clubhouses and all sorts of things that have popped up in the last sort of few weeks and months. So there's so much you could be doing with your time. So thank you, first of all. Right, I've done a teaser little trailer thing before, just to explain what the podcast was, the premise of it. This is the first proper episode. I think I'm doing loads of plosives so that I thingy it on my mic. So, this is the first proper episode, and what I want you to know is this is a positive space. So, when I'm interviewing guests, which I've got loads of guests interviewed already to share with you, we're not talking about negative stuff. We're not talking about the C word. We're not talking about the negativity in the industry, because I really want it to be a positive place. I want you to come here, listen to this and feel inspired and feel like you're ready to go back out there and do your jobs and run your businesses and grow and thrive. And that's exactly what I want this to be about. But yes, let's start just by the addressing the elephant in the room, which is that most of us haven't done, if we have done some work, it's been a fraction of what we'd normally do. We haven't been able to do our jobs. And this isn't going to be political. This isn't going to be even sort of going into that in a practical way. I just want to touch on it emotionally. And how that's made me feel is really sort of down and really confused. And yeah, I've questioned whether this is still going to be the right thing for me, because I need to support my family. And it's really difficult to feel positive about something when it's all been sapped away from you, and everything that you're touching in relation to it, you know, is kind of negative. Like you're having to deal with the couples contacting you and postponing or cancelling and refunding money potentially. You're not got any money coming in, so you're worried about how you're going to pay all the bills. And everyone's situation is slightly different. So everyone sees things through a different set of lenses, photography pun intended. What I want you to know is you're not alone. If you're feeling really negative and really down and you don't know if you're going to continue with your business, or you don't know if you're going to start a business right now, or maybe you're thinking this is the best time to start a business because you've had a problem and you've lost your other job, you've been made redundant or whatever from your other job because there's problems in other industries, in other employment sectors. What I want you to know is that you are going to be okay. It's going to be okay. And it's okay to feel crappy right now. And hopefully what I want to talk about in this podcast is why having your own business in the wedding industry, why being a creative business owner, why being a wedding supplier, why actually that's such an amazing thing. So hopefully you'll stick around to hear me talk about this, because I do think that it will help. And I think it also sets up for the interviews that will come out over the next few weeks, listening to some really great inspirational stories of people who have, you know, built amazing wedding businesses. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. If you need a little bit of a, come on, you know, a little bit of a a beasting, a coaching session, a come on, like motivation, hopefully this is where you're going to get it from. The wedding industry is not an easy industry. I can tell you from the few years that I've been doing it that it doesn't come without its challenges. But I really do believe that the rewards far outweigh the challenges. And I hope that you feel like that too. And if you don't feel like that right now, hopefully by the end of this you will. So, you may have had a job before. You may not have had a job before. And what I mean by that is you could have come to be self-employed in the wedding industry straight out of leaving college or university or school. Maybe you have been maybe you've had kids and you've been off work with the kids, and you are a mum who's decided to get back into work, and this is the route that you've taken back into work, as in you've started being self-employed. And I hear so many stories, particularly of like photographers or stationers, florists, they've started doing something while they've been on kind of maternity leave / while they've been looking after the kids while they're really young. And then as the kids go to school, they're looking to get back into work, and they've kind of explored some different skill sets that they hadn't explored before, and they take that into a business and they start offering that as a service. And that's amazing, because there aren't many other industries where you could do that. So what I'm saying is, you might not have had much of a career or a job before, or you could have come from a really demanding career. You could have been in a corporate job, or you could have been in a service or whatever, and you've started doing this part-time before, or you've just jumped straight full-time in like I have. But what I want you to know is that when you look at this compared to working in a job, I'm going to go into that in more detail, you'll see how amazing and what the benefits are. First of all, creative freedom. How many jobs can you do where you're not doing it to someone else's spec sheet, or you're having to fit into someone else's idea, or you're a tiny cog in a big machine, and there's nothing wrong with team working, but what that's doing is making you not be able to showcase your skill set. Particularly if you work in creative industries, unless you are literally the director of something, or you are high up in the creative process, a lot of the time you're going to be implementing other people's ideas. But in the wedding industry, whatever you do, whichever service it is you supply, you are going to be the person who is creating. And I can definitely talk about that as a photographer or filmmaker, videographer. But as well, it's the same if you worked, let's say you're into floral design, you're a florist, and you, work for a big supermarket putting flower arrangements together or something like that. Or you're a card designer that works for a big card company like Hallmark or something like that. Your creativity is going to be limited. Whereas if you become a stationer working for yourself, doing your own designs and working with couples, or you're a florist and you get to create your own floral designs, or you're a photographer, you get to, create your own images, the way, in the style that you want. That creative freedom does not exist in nearly all other types of employment. Especially if you're a photographer, because unless you own your own studio and you are working directly with the clients, if you're a photographer for a an in-house, I imagine you're just doing what you're told. I've not had that experience, so I can't really say. But if you can see where I'm going, that creative freedom's amazing. The independence. So the fact that you can do whatever you want. So nobody's telling you you have to work 5 days a week. Nobody's telling you you have to work between 9 and 5. In the job I used to do, we had to do shifts, and I hated it. And you know what? They used to cancel your days off regularly. They used to make you work extra hours, just forced you to out of the blue, and you had to do it. And, you know, if you wanted to leave, good luck. And so the amount of social events that I missed, important things, you know, not just talking about going on a night out with your mates or missing a wedding, but, you know, kids' birthdays, Christmases, and those working hours. For me, it was shifts. For some people, it might be that daily grind and daily commute. And in most jobs, and yes, at the moment, things are a little bit different because a lot of people are home working, and there's employers have had to inject a lot of, you know, flexibility into that, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to keep things ticking over. But normally, in the past, you know, running your own business, particularly within the wedding industry, the creative industry, means that, yeah, you might have to work some Saturdays, depending what you do in the wedding industry, but you are in control of that. So if you want to work every weekend, if you want to do 52 weddings a year all on a Saturday, then you'll work 52 Saturdays. But if you don't want to do that, and you want to work 20 or 30 weddings, then you get to choose. You get that independence, and there are very, very few in, you know, jobs, careers that you're going to get that with. For me, childcare is a massive thing. Now, not everyone's going to have a family. Not everyone's going to have kids. I have got a couple of kids, and my old job was a nightmare, you know? And my wife was also in a similar job, and we'd have to, and, you know, we knew that when we had kids. So I'm not pretending that that's not, you know, someone's responsibility. But, you know, just because of your job, it shouldn't mean that you don't want to or can't have kids. So here's the thing. Handing over in a car park, you know, because one of you's got to be at home and while the other one's working, never seeing each other. And I'm sure that there are lots and lots of other stories from people in different industries exactly the same as that. So you get to spend time with your kids. Like, as a wedding videographer and photographer, I might have a wedding on the Saturday or on the Friday, but the rest of the week, I can take my kids to school, I can pick my kids up from school, I can work during the day while they're there, I can work in the evenings if I need to. I have got such great flexibility, and it's unlikely that I'll miss anything, because if I want to block out a day because it's their birthday or it's Christmas, I mean, you're not going to be working on Christmas usually in the wedding industry. So, you know, these are all amazing things that are upsides to running your own creative business or being a wedding supplier. Your location. So you know, some people might have business premises, but that's a choice. You know, some people might need space, and I get that. I've had a business premises and the space was great, but it's a choice. So the fact that you could work from home and not have to commute, you're going to be saving yourself so much time and energy every single day, and money, just because you're not having to sit in a car or on a bus or on a plane or a train getting somewhere. And yes, we have to commute to a wedding potentially, and sometimes that can be quite a distance away, but how often? You know, it's not going to be every day. It's going to be once twice a week, 3 times a week if you're having a busy one. So think about where you work and think about who you work with. Yes, there might be some occasions where you do feel a little bit like on your own and lonely, and you feel like you could do with colleagues to work with. And there are some people, some of you, depending on what you do, you will have colleagues that work with you. You know, you can't work, you know, there are wedding industries, there are types of the wedding industry, sort of venues, you know, suppliers that do multiple weddings, that run bigger companies. You will have colleagues, and that's a choice thing again. But you're not forced into it, and you can choose who you work with, and you can choose how you set that up and how much contact you have with them. In other jobs, that's decided for you, That's decided for you. You don't get to decide who and how many people you work with. And if you have experienced a workplace, you will know that there's always people that you get along with really well and you really like working with. But then there are always people that just want to spoil it for everyone. And they might know it and they might not know it. But the thing is, you don't get to choose that. Whereas when you're running your own business and you are in the wedding industry, you get to choose, and you get to choose your couples. You get to choose the people that you work with. Now, I'm not saying that as a blanket kind of thing, because not everybody, you know, depending what you supply, you'll have different levels of contact with the couple. It might just be that it's a very transactional, you know, they're buying something from you. If you do what I do, photography, videography, it's going to be a much more personal service. And the amazing thing is you get to decide who you work with. You can figure out all your marketing materials and structure your business and present it in a particular way that attracts a certain type of person. And that person will be the person you want to work with, whether that's because it's compatible with your personality or whether it's because you're targeting them because they are a certain type of person, they have a certain level of money, or they're going to have a certain type of wedding. But these are all choices. Now, you keep coming back to the word choice because that's the big thing in all of this. You get to choose. There are not many jobs, careers where you get so much choice. And, you know, you're going to avoid a lot of drama because of that. Now, you know, I'm lucky I used to get on with people mainly, but you can't avoid how certain personalities are going to come out in a workplace, and that can cause you a bit of stress. Some people, they might be the nicest person in the world, but if they have a problem with someone at work, it can really affect them, and it can make them unhappy because of the amount of time you have to spend at work. So you're avoiding that. You know, you get to choose. Job satisfaction is a huge thing, right? Now, depending what you do for a living, and depending which stage of your career you're in, and depending, you know, whether some people I know must just work for a salary, you know, that they go to work and they come home and they live their lives outside of the workplace and they're just doing it for some money. The way that I look at this is you will spend, and I wish I had it written down, but I have kind of worked it out before, how much of your life you spend working. And it's something, and don't quote me on this because it's not right, but it's something like a third you're sleeping, a third you're working, and a third you're doing other stuff, which could involve like eating and things like that. So it's not all like fun time. So if you're going to be spending at least a third of your life working, again, don't quote me on it, But that's huge. And if you don't like your job and you don't get anything from it, and you don't, you're not spending that third of your life doing something that you feel passionate about, or that rewards you in more ways than just paying the bills, that's a real shame. Because, when you get to 80 years old and look back on a third of your life spent doing, well, it won't be quite like that because you won't be working when you're 10 years old, but you can see what I'm saying. It's a real waste if you don't enjoy your job and you don't get something else from it. And for me, that's the main reason for coming into the wedding industry, is that I left a career that wasn't rewarding me. I didn't get job satisfaction from in the way that I was wanting to. And now I do. And when we can do our job, I absolutely love it. It gives me, some of the most rewarding moments when you know that you're capturing something for somebody, and that's going to be there for them for the rest of their lives. And they're going to look at that all the time. They're going to show their kids when the kids are born in the future, and when, no matter what happens in life, they're always going to have that memory. And yes, there are different services, but if you enjoy being a DJ and playing music for people and entertaining people, if you're really good at like logistics and planning things, and you're a wedding planner, or you're a stylist and you love being creative with how to decorate things, make things look nice, how are you going to get more job satisfaction than creating stuff for people's wedding days? So the job satisfaction that you can get from being a wedding creative, working in the wedding industry is huge. And there's probably only a handful of jobs in the whole entire world and all the scope of different careers where you can get as much job satisfaction as you can from working in the wedding industry. Because, you're working with those happy people all the time. Nobody's getting married and is miserable about it. It's a happy occasion. It's a positive occasion. People, unless you mess up, people are going to love what you do for them. And think about the variety of things that you actually get to do. You aren't pigeonholed job-wise when you come into the wedding industry. If there are certain parts to a role or certain parts to a process that you enjoy, you get to do those, but you get to look into other things as well. And the variety of where you're going to be working at different venues potentially. You're going to be different locations, different people. You're going to have some great variety, which stops you from being bored and stops the monotony of, doing the same thing day in, day out, which a lot of careers, a lot of jobs, they are processes that are repeated over and over again. With something creative, you get to be, you get to experiment and you get to try things. And that can be just as satisfying as, getting paid a lot of money, is being able to try things, experiment, grow as a person, grow your skills in your craft. And that comes on to, because I mentioned money, that comes on to money. Now, I'm not going to tell you that everybody who works in the wedding industry is really well off. But what I will tell you is, if you go and get a job working for somebody else, I can almost guarantee that you will get paid a lower salary. You will receive lower income than you will if you do that as a freelancer or a business owner. And there are lots of reasons for that. And if you're interested, stick around, because a lot of the stuff that we're going to be talking about on this podcast and in a lot of the other content I'm going to do is going to be surrounding the business aspect of running your own wedding business, how to make money and how to put processes in place to make things more effective, make things more efficient, and hopefully, give you exactly the business that you want to have. But going back to money, I would say if COVID hadn't happened, and we have to sort of pretend that COVID is an anomaly, and I will touch on that at the end of this. But it's an anomaly. It's easy for me to say anomaly. And if it hadn't have happened, I can tell you now that I had a decent job before, and I would have earned a fair bit more this year from doing this than I would from my other job. But I wouldn't have had to work ridiculous shifts. I wouldn't have had to work, lots and lots of days. I'm not saying it's an easy thing, but the money is better if you get your business working properly. And I think you know that. I think if you've been in the wedding industry already, I think you know that once you get things set up, whichever supplier you do, whichever business you've got, type of business you've got, the money is better when you're doing it for yourself. Okay, so whether you are at a point where you're just thinking about going into the wedding industry, whether you're at a point where you're just starting out and it's really early days and you're kind of finding your feet, or whether you've been doing this for a long time, please bring yourself back to the fact that, yes, COVID is causing, and it's a nightmare for us all. But please bring yourself back to the fact that it is a temporary thing. Okay? And it will pass, and there will be more opportunity on the other side. And that's not me just being silly and really optimistic and, delusional. It's fact. It's fact that things go down and they always come back up, no matter what we're talking about. And this is such a great time for you to work on your business. And you may have been working on it for the last 6 to 8 months. But this is really the time to be pushing things forward, trying new things. And that's why I hope you listen to the episodes that follow this, because I'm going to be interviewing people who've got such inspirational stories that I hope when you listen to them, it makes you think, whichever stage you're at, whether you're starting out or whether you've been doing this for a while, I hope it makes you think, yes, I can do that. I can push my business forward, or I can start and grow my business really quick. And that's what this is all about. That's why that's what Wedding Mavericks is. Because you don't have to follow a set of rules. You don't have to go to university or college and study. If that's what you've done, that's fine. But you don't have to do that. You don't have to work your way up. You don't have to earn your wings, if you like. People who are like, you've got to have been doing this for a certain amount of time before you can charge a certain amount, or things like that. That's nonsense. And it's this, that's what I want Mavericks to be. I want it to be about, you can learn the best way you learn, and you can take your business in whatever direction you want. There is no right or wrong way. The right way is if it's working and people want what you're providing, and the wrong way is if you're not making any money and people aren't wanting it. And whichever, if you're that big, you can turn it around. So I wanted to remind you of the skills you've got. If you've come into self-employment and you're a small business owner, a creative professional, a wedding supplier, an entrepreneur, a tradesperson, You are going to have a set of attributes that make you successful in this. And I want to remind you of these because I want you to go away feeling positive and feeling like, yes, I know why I got into this or why I'm getting into this. And yes, I can do it. So the first one is passion. Now, if you're doing this, I would urge you not to be doing it unless you are passionate about what you do. And that depends, the level of passion and the way that passion manifests itself is different for different supplies. But if you're passionate about your business and you're passionate about the service you're providing to customers, which I would say is the thing you need to focus on the most, and you're passionate about your craft or the service you provide, then you're going to be you're going to have a real advantage in terms of the route to success. And that's what you are. If you're running your own business, you wouldn't be doing this if you weren't passionate. You can have a strong work ethic. And this is one that I hope resonates with you. Because when I was leaving my job, this is what I used to think. Why do I work so hard? Why do I care so much? Why do I try so hard to do a good job when there are lots of other people getting paid exactly the same as me, doing a lot less work? And I hope that you've got that strong work ethic, and that's why you're doing this, because you know you will work hard at your business and you will make it work. And you are here doing what you're doing or wanting to start your own business because you will get to put all that work in, and you're not doing it for somebody else to get rewarded from it. You're doing it for you to get rewarded from it and for you to be able to do the best job for your customers. People skills. This is a difficult one because people skills, some people might feel like they don't necessarily have all the confidence to talk to people, but it can be learned. And I know that because I used to be quite a shy person and I wasn't particularly great with small talk and things like that until I kind of had done my last job for quite some time, and I learned a lot of people skills doing that. So that's something you can develop. And if you are an entrepreneur and you're running your own business, you probably already have those people skills and you're going to use those people skills. Determination. This won't beat you. COVID is not going to be the thing that stops your business from either happening or from continuing and being successful. Creativity. We've already talked a lot about that. But you don't usually start a business unless you are a creative person. And I might do a whole podcast on creativity because what we're programmed to think that means, you know, people used to say creative and I used to think of someone with a paintbrush, like an artiste. But it doesn't have to be. A creative person, somebody who's really good at problem solving, who's good at coming up with new ideas and innovating. And if you are running or starting your own business, then creativity is something that probably is ticking inside you all the time. Open-mindedness. Now, everyone's got a different level of open-mindedness, but you're going to be an open-minded person if you're starting or you are running your own business, because you wouldn't try it if you didn't have an open mind. And I think that you need to remember that what you're doing is really, really, I don't want to use the word brave, so I was going to say special. Because most people might have an idea, but they didn't go for it. But you did, or you are going to. And that's a big deal. And you should give yourself a lot of credit for that, because it scares most people, taking that risk, taking that plunge. And you probably have taken a plunge to get your business off the ground, or you will be taking a plunge to get your business off the ground. So I hope I haven't rambled on for too long and it's been really pointless and boring. I hope you've got something from it. These things might be quite simple things that you already know, but hopefully just being reminded of them will help you get into the right mindset to either start with that idea, start that business, or if you're already doing it and you've had a bit of a rough time and you're really feeling unsure and thinking, am I going to be able to do this going forward? Is this going to work? Remember where you've come from and how hard that's been. And know that it will get better and you can do this. I really appreciate you listening. I do hope it's been helpful, even if I haven't said anything that's been revolutionary. And it's just been a case of reminding you of those things and maybe just, hearing someone else say it. Then if it's helpful for one person, then job done for me. That has been the first episode of the Wedding Mavericks podcast. Next week we will be starting with the interviews that I've recorded. There will be some other episodes where I talk about other things. So please subscribe to the podcast on whatever podcatcher you use. I'll be releasing it on as many as I can. If you want some other content that's going to be about running your business, growing your business, everything from sales and marketing to communication with clients, to how you set up things, different tools that you can use, softwares, apps, all sorts of things really. We're going to cover all sorts. And if you are a photographer or videographer, I will be talking about things that are specific to them, but I also will be talking about things that can be utilised in all different types of business. If that's the case, then please check out at Wedding Mavericks on Facebook and Instagram, because I'll be posting things on there. There will be a YouTube channel as well, where I'm going to be releasing the video version of these podcasts, and I will be doing content for small creative business owners. Thank you very much for your time. I really appreciate it, and take care.